Hi, I'm Kaylee, and today I'm going to tell you about my favorite Christian nonfiction. In case you didn't know, Books for MKs is a charity that donates books to missionary kids. If you want to donate to the kids, you can do so at GoFundMe.com. There's a link down in the description, and there's a button at the end of this video, and there's a card right up here where you can click to donate to the kids. I love reading lots of Christian nonfiction, Christian apologetics, theology, and of course devotional books and things like that, For one thing, my dad is a pastor. I grew up as a pastor's kid, and my dad has a massive library of, scripture commentary and all kind of stuff that he would use to study for his sermons. And I guess a little bit of it rubbed off on me, and I would end up going to his bookshelf and picking something out and just, ooh, this looks interesting, let's try it. And I grew up with a love of learning more about God. But before we get into that, I would like to share with you guys one of my favorite new meditation apps that I just discovered this past month. I love doing guided meditations. I'm a very, chaotic and energetic person, and I need my meditation and my prayer time to take a deep breath and calm all that craziness down for a little while. So when I discovered the Soultime meditation app, I was absolutely thrilled. This app has really beautiful, calming meditations that are all centered around Christ and around Bible scriptures. When you first open up the app, you can choose to have like this lovely ocean in the background or like a forest scene or something. And in the foreground of that, then there are some Bible verses, and it's a different Bible verse every day. So you can, if you want to, you can just sit there with that little forest sounds or the waves of the ocean or whatever it is, and just read your little Bible verse and just have a little moment of prayer. Or you can choose a guided meditation. I'm really amazed too at the quality of the sound and everything with these meditations. Sometimes if you have a guided meditation, the person is talking too quickly, or somehow they just don't have a very pleasant voice. But all of the meditations that I have listened to on this app are very, very calming. The person isn't like talking too quickly or too slow or anything. And they have very pleasant voices, and I just love it. Another interesting thing about this is that it will have like a little check-in. So you can click on an icon to check in, and you can say, I'm feeling connected to God, and you can do a frowny face or anywhere up to a happy face. And then it'll choose a guided meditation for you based on where you are in that day, kind of based on what your need is for that day. So I will leave a link down below to the Soultime meditation app, and I hope that you will check it out. And you don't have to be a Christian or even know how to pray or anything to use this meditation app. If you just need a little moment of calm in your life, try it out. And this isn't like a paid review or anything like that. I just found the app and I wanted to tell you guys about it because I thought it was good. Okay, let's get right into my favorite Christian nonfiction books. Number one on this list, forever, always, never gonna change, always gonna be the favorite, is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I still remember the first time that I read this book. I think I was 15 or 16, and we were on a car trip. And my dad had bought me the book, I think, for Christmas or birthday or something. And so while we were in the car, I was reading that book. And then my dad and I, as I was reading each chapter, I'd stop and we'd talk about it. So I had these wonderful, deep conversations about spiritual things and about God and all about theology. And I still have this lovely memory of these incredibly deep spiritual conversations with my dad and feeling really close with my dad and really enjoying the book. I mean, it really changed the way I thought about my life, and it changed the way I thought about the world and the way I thought about how Christianity fits into that picture, or actually how the world fits into the picture of Christianity the other way. Mere Christianity gives you this insight into the realities of living as a Christian and sort of this constant fight against mediocrity as a Christian. There are tons of people who say, oh, sure, yeah, I'm a Christian, but they only go to church at Christmas and Easter. They don't walk with God every day of their lives. they haven't surrendered their whole life and their whole heart to God. So can they really call themselves a Christian? You know, there's that mediocrity that you have to fight against in your own life and in your own heart. My next favorite is Tolkien's Ordinary Virtues by Mark Eddy Smith. This is an inspiring look at the Christian themes in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and it really takes kind of the Lord of the Rings plot and the different characters and everything, and shows how they are typifications of different Bible stories and how different elements from the Bible are sort of infused into Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of spiritual context in Tolkien's writing, and I just love how Mark Eddy Smith, he brings it to light. You know, he makes it clear so that you can see the true depth of Tolkien's writing and everything that's in there. The next two are, of course, C.S. Lewis books, because I love C.S. Lewis. The Problem of Pain is always a favorite one. It talks about, you know, a question that many people have. If God is supposed to be a good God, then how can there be tragedy and pain and horrors in the world? And it all boils down to God gave us free will. So some people will choose to do good and some people will choose to do evil. And C.S. Lewis does such a good job of explaining this incredibly complex question: why a good God allows evil in the world. And nobody can explain it like C.S. Lewis. He is so good at taking very complex ideas and breaking it down so that ordinary people who are not geniuses like him can understand it. A child could read this book and understand it. And I love how it's written with so much hope and wisdom. The next C.S. Lewis book that is another one of my favorites is The Four Loves. This book explores the types of human and godly love. And it's really sort of like this magnifying glass on human relationships and on our emotions. There are 4 different types of love. First it's godly love, then it's family love, then it's brotherly love, and lastly is eros, which is romantic love. So I really like the very in-depth sort of analysis of the different types of loves and how it makes us interact with people and how it opens us up to be able to receive God's love. The next one is John Eldridge's The Sacred Romance. This book is all about drawing closer to God by letting go of what John Eldridge calls the fake loves that are basically holding us back from being able to love God completely. A false love or a fake love could be perfectionism or self-indulgence or self-righteousness. You know, there are these things that we use to sort of plug up these holes in our heart instead of using God to plug up that hole in your heart. It's a really beautiful book and one that really made a deep impact on me when I read it. The next one is Timothy Keller's Jesus the King. This book has this really deep, epic, cosmic insight into the life of Christ and what his death on the cross meant and the importance of his resurrection. It kind of takes this look at the life of Christ, but through this lens of his death. So I can't even explain it. It's like he just takes a look at every aspect of the life of Christ and what it meant for him to be born as a baby and leading up to his death and resurrection from every kind of angle that you could imagine. I mean, it's so all-encompassing, and it really made me think about theology in a different way. And the last book on this list is The Hidden Smile of God by John Piper. This is actually kind of like a biography of 3 different influential Christians of the past: John Bunyan, William Cowper, and David Brainerd. David Brainerd is one of my very favorite missionaries. I grew up in a missionary family. My parents were missionaries, and so I read lots of books about missionaries, about different missionaries of the past, and David Brainerd is definitely my favorite. So all 3 of these men went through incredible suffering. John Bunyan, who wrote Pilgrim's Progress, was in jail for most of his life. Really, really suffering, like not enough food and no heat. I mean, the man was in a dungeon, you know. David Brainerd died very young. He was in his 20s when he died of tuberculosis. He was the first missionary to Native Americans. and his story is very tragic. Very tragic. So all of them have tragic stories, but the hidden smile of God is all about how through suffering, God can bring joy. All of these men were incredibly joyful and did so much for God and inspired so many people with their amazing joy. How can you have joy when you're sitting in jail, John Bunyan? How can you have joy when you're dying of tuberculosis? But it's amazing how when you have faith, even the most tragic circumstances can be a way of drawing you closer to God. And when you're close to God, you have joy. All right, those are my 7 favorite Christian nonfiction. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what are some of your favorite Christian nonfiction or Christian fiction or really anything. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.